joining me on tonight's show, we have a very, very special guest. He's the founder of Silent Corp. Please welcome Mr. Silent himself.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your new partnership. I heard you just won a big contract with the city.
So, with Silent Corp's expertise in robotics and manufacturing, we will be providing security solutions to the city of Oz.
Sounds excellent. Ha ha ha. What? Security solutions? Can we trust it?
Robotics and cybernetics. It's the next stage of human evolution. Fully autonomous, 100% androids watching over us will make us feel safe again in the city of Oz. So yes, I trust her. We are about to enter a new age.
everything go and be fine if you don't waste the time. Check me later, figure get intertwined. Cause baby girl, you know, say that you make me feel alright. Woman, wind up your body till the morning light. Then girl, wave up your hand because you know, say you're tight. Woman, bunks and go long, woman, you know, say you're right. Because woman, you make the sin thing right. Anytime I press up on your thighs, baby, I'm the man for rock you all night. Make you feel alright, giving you the loving of your life. Make you sweat till the morning light. Make the sin thing right. Anytime I press up on your thighs, baby, I'm the man for rock you all night. Make you feel alright, giving you the loving of your life. Make you sweat till the morning light. Make the sin thing right. Anytime I press up on your thighs, baby, I'm the man for rock you all night. Make you feel alright, giving you the loving of your life. Make you sweat till the morning light. Make the sin thing right. Anytime I press up on your thighs, baby, I'm the man for rock you all night. Make you feel alright, giving you the loving of your life. Make you sweat till the morning light. Sin thing right. Anytime I press up on your thighs, baby, I'm the man for rock you all night. Make you feel.
I think we're online.
There's a message.
Join the movement. We are the underground.
You knew it wasn't real with her. You stayed there with her, but you didn't care. You stayed there with her. You stayed and she's a killer. You knew it wasn't real with her. You stayed there with her, but you didn't care. You stayed there with her. You stayed and she's a killer. Welcome to the city of Oz. We hope you enjoy your stay. Welcome to the city of Oz. We hope you enjoy your
Welcome everybody to Overcast Season 4 Week 3-ish recap. This is of course Dat Soup Can. Joined with me as always is gonna be my boy Andrew. Andrew, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Got a nice break for the day. Got a nice week break from stressing about trying to set up games, but also not really because we try to set up games anyway. But we don't talk about that.
We'll get to it. We'll drop a little hint here and there. But glad that breaks were ensue. But speaking of breaks, we had our spring break. Week 3 was 2 weeks, and across that 2 weeks, 3 games were played. So we're gonna try and talk about them as best we can, because definitely one was a bit above the rest, and that is actually why we are starting on the Ruby side of things. Taking a look to start out was actually a week 2 game in which you, part of the Philly roster, took on Halifax. I think leading up to it, definitely one of the games that I personally was anticipating. I think rosters, stacking up compared to each other was going to be interesting to see how they kind of went at it. And then we realized DPS is in insane role to play in this game.
Yeah.
Taking a look at some of those, mid-game fights, I think it really kind of showed quickly where this season is, heading, if anything. As Choco and Foliage really just kind of ran through while, you guys, yourself on tank and then your support line, really just all you guys had to do was kind of just sit down, poke out a little damage, and then just take the space and just coast. Like, what felt to you was your kind of mission throughout that game?
Definitely taking space. Trying to like follow up along with whatever like kind of strategy we're going for. Like if we got to pick off someone, we try to like kind of follow through on it as hard as we can, which everyone's trying to do. But when you got a really good DPS, you can make it happen, but like a lot faster than normal. It goes pretty well.
Fair enough. Yeah. Y'all did a really good job of kind of like you said, just ensuring the communication and the follow-up was happening. Throughout a lot of these fights, you could see Choco and Foliage, just chipping away. And then there's just that one break, whether Foliage hits an insane right click, or you see Choco go in and just run somebody down, have to reload. You then, just see either yourself come in and follow up, or one of the other two DPS. An ult gets popped so you guys can win that fight throughout. And I think what really did you guys a lot of favors was your ult economy. I think as you go throughout Busan, since this, of course, was a Week 2 match, and then you go check out King's Row Saravasa, the ult timing and usage felt a lot better on your guys' side. There were a couple different ults coming out from Halifax that didn't necessarily felt like they belong, but I think a lot of it comes down to just the overall timing and positioning of where those team fights were being taken. And I think that really just screams out to your guys as a team, the communication of saying, hey, listen, here's, Minky going in and getting shredded. Let's just form in and just take this under archery real quick. We've already gotten one. Push. Having that clear line of communication of, hey, we have a clear scenario of one down, everybody move in, let's run it as fast as we can. Definitely helps you guys out a lot.
Yeah. We have like really like precise coordination whenever we like go over a play. We just execute on it like immediately. We tried to like really force whatever we would see like Minky dive in. We definitely try to like either shred him whenever he would come in as much as we can, if we're able to, or we just like try to either maybe ignore and just go to the back line for the squishies. And
gotta love targeting the tiny HP people.
Mm-hmm. And it worked out decently for us on this one. Not that it would always pan out as well, but we were all just execute on it well enough to win out the series. So pretty good all around.
Yeah, y'all got a nice win, another 3-0, definitely helping you guys in the standings. As again, Week 2 match, the Week 3 match against Houston is gotta be scary. That one should be coming up this week, I think. I hope. But that is against Houston, who, they've been looking scary. They won against Pittsburgh 3-0 in the first week. They won against a, weaker looking Chicago. So Houston, while looking pretty scary, still, haven't really hit your guys' level yet, I think. When they are comparing the rosters, I still think Houston, got to be top two teams right now. I think, scoreboard clearly shows it. But the real test has got to be what happens when they have to run into your team comp. And the way that you continue to run that rush. We've seen a couple different styles come out from Houston, so maybe they find ones that, chips the armor a little bit. But I very excited to see how Houston Philly plays out. Hopefully that same excitement doesn't fall by the wayside like what happened with Halifax and Philly.
Yeah. That one will be a really tough game as well. They have a really scary comp and players. They run all kinds of team comps. So I'm not really certain which one to expect even when we go into them.
Yeah, no kidding. That there is one thing that will 100% happen. Doesn't matter if they're running, the dive. Doesn't matter if they're running the rush. The JD Torb is coming. Yeah. So you gotta mentally prepare for that.
Honestly, I would be down to forfeit for fears of getting hit by the hammer. It's very powerful tool in their arsenal here, and I can't get hit by that, man. It'll be my career would be just over, man. It would just be it.
It's one of those things that you hear it and fear just starts settling in, and you're just like, oh god, JD Hammer, I'm absolutely losing it. The psychological warfare comes in, you're just gone.
Exactly.
But that is, of course, one of the games that will be played later on. One of the games that for week 3 that actually was played is, oddly enough, another Halifax match. And it was actually Halifax versus Pittsburgh, in which it was another 4-map series for Pittsburgh. However, there was some issues at the start of it. And I don't want to name names, except myself. I apparently need to get better internet. As the entirety of Lijiang Tower was my Lucio running in walls and through walls.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see on stream. We just see the instant turn of a camera flick like a bot, but it would be it would be 80 degrees. Oops! Oh, now I'm into a wall. Oh, now I'm running right off the map. Unfortunate.
It was so upsetting. I think later on this part of Gardens for Lijiang Tower, I remember swapping to speed as we were trying to disengage from a fight, and because I was lagging so bad, I just fall off the map. It was just annoying to deal with. So, through that map, the rest of Pittsburgh on good ping and good skill, able to kind of hold their own a bit. Unfortunately, we do end up losing that map, but once the internet gets restarted along the little computer reboot, it really felt like Pittsburgh kind of had a better handle on it. Halifax, I think, is a good-looking team, but we're starting to see that, they can't hold up in a lot of these fights. They still have to play you guys in Philly one more time. They still have to play us one more time later in this season. However, something might have to change in order to get some of these wins. It was very close on Lijiang, but once the later maps of Numbani came in and even Circuit came in, Circuit was a full hold. So, I think that there needs to be a couple changes in play style. I think some of the character selections for Halifax is pretty good. Just play style maybe needs to get a little updated. Is this? Oh no, I thought it was Vanguard and me just booping off the entire team off the map. I'm a little upset. I remember that. Not. We both went up the staircase. I booped him slightly, and then he just popped ult, got one good monkey swing in, and just nailed 3 of them off the map. It was just insane. But looking, at this series, this one was very big, very important, because now Pittsburgh has, solidified themselves at a 2nd seed right now. Halifax is dropping down to the 3rd, so as of right now, they're out of playoffs. Going to need to, get a win next week as they play, oddly enough, you guys again. And again, this one's going to be massive because it's in conference. This is the last time they have to play Philly. So a win here would be great to give Philly a loss, but then also give Halifax a chance to step back up, put themselves back in this contention to get back into playoffs. You know, we're about halfway through the season now. They got to start figuring out their win con, right? Because after they go against you guys, then I believe week 5 is when they play San Diego. Week 6 is they play us for the last time. And then their week 7 is against Houston. So their week 6 and 7 are going to be extremely hard games. You know, week 5, maybe we see San Diego step it up and Halifax just, you know, drop the ball. But they're going to need to find something that works in order to kind of turn this season around.
Mm-hmm.
But that, of course, was the only week 3 game that happened. Week 3 game that did not happen outside of Houston and Philly was Chicago-San Diego. Not entirely sure what happened. I think some unfortunate scheduling conflicts arose. Hopefully that gets resolved some way, somehow this week. But taking a look at this week, you know, there is the Houston versus San Diego game. I think that should go pretty clean into Houston's favor. Another, you know, pretty quick win for them, boost their record. Then, of course, there is that Halifax-Philly game that we had just mentioned. Hopefully, Halifax can, you know, figure something out, push themselves up. And then, of course, there's Chicago versus Pittsburgh. Chicago looking for their first win. Hopefully able to maybe even just get a map win. You know, a map win would tie them up with San Diego. So that would change the standings a little bit, see what goes on. Pittsburgh, so far known to drop a map or two. So these matches coming up, I'm kind of excited. Looking at them, I think that these all might end up being fairly one-sided. But Andrew, if there's one match you have to look for, what are your eyes landing on?
Well, the Houston versus San Diego, I think would. There's not much that are like really too different for the one-sidedness, but I am curious to see how they do into them. Because we've known how strong Houston has been, but there can be enough time to us to like really see what San Diego's been cooking, because we didn't get to see them week 3.
This is true. We've seen a lot of good things from San Diego.
Yeah.
Just needs to have a little bit more foundation in some of their team fights. Hopefully, you know, kind of pulling out something new. Dude, maybe they just pull out the manga. I mean, we saw it. It happened for a little bit. Maybe they pull it out again.
For a little.
Dude, I don't know. It could work. They could cook. I'm kind of excited. I kind of want San Diego to pull back out the manga. But that, of course, is the scheduled matches for Ruby. We now get to talk about something that, you know, normally we talk about first. But of course, based on schedules, we only saw one game. But this one game was probably game of the season so far. We're dropping to Emerald, and we're talking about Ottawa versus Dallas. The 5-map slugfest that occurred. I mean,
this was impressive to watch.
It was great.
So much going on.
You break it down map by map, right? You go to Lijiang Tower, and pretty close. You know, it doesn't really feel like either team has a foothold into it. Eventually, you know, Dallas has that pace and has that kind of attacking power to win it out. Then you go over to Kings Row. Similar thing. They both are kind of button heads. Dallas able to put their foot down and really claim it. So with their backs up against the wall, Ottawa starts whipping out just everything. They go to Saravasa, and even though I think Servasa ended up as a 3-0, it was still very close. I don't think it was percentage-wise. I don't think it was that off, from either side. And then once they take one, they go to Gibraltar. And personally, I was sitting with Bowser and Recon watching that match. And Bowser and I specifically were sitting on the couch and we were kind of watching. We were theory crafting. Like, all right, Dallas, we lose one. That's fine. Where do you take Ottawa to? And Bowser with the call out said, you know what? I think an option they don't want to go with is going to be Gibraltar. We have seen Ottawa on that dive time and time again, and it has been phenomenal. And all of a sudden, Dallas pulls out Gibraltar. And it is 4 minutes of just standing before point one for both teams.
Yeah. Both teams just didn't really have the answer to get around that little choke near the very end of point one. It was they kind of just abused high ground both times, and the other teams forgot to abuse the high ground on their respective attacks.
And even then, just like you said, both teams kind of on their attack for getting high ground exist and just constantly going under the car wash. But it was on both teams' defense. You just see one pick come in, and the entirety of the rest of the defense just swarms the attacking team. I remember specifically, watching once Dallas, stopped them right before the gate. Ottawa came back on the defense. Laggy off the traditional Genji went over to the Soldier and was able to find a lot of value. Every team fight that started, I think Laggy was the one to find the first pick. And it really just went that way over and over again. Both teams had a very strong sense of control the high ground, stop the dive, right? Eventually, on Dallas's attack, they're like, oh, all we got to do is cap first point, easy dubs. It doesn't work. They just keep bashing their heads into this wall. They try a couple swaps here and there. I think Panda swapped off the Cassidy over to a Sim for a little bit. Kind of saw value, kind of didn't really, just because the other team was so spread out. There wasn't really one person you could kind of just walk up to or teleport to. But at the end of the day, right there where you can see the plane, that's about as far as it gets for both teams. Ottawa obviously able to take it out, taking us to the map 5, which again, nutty map. I think the Colosseo pick was pretty quick. I think Dallas, when they lost, they took their time thinking about Gibraltar. But then when they lost this one, they were just like, nope, Colosseo, it's, out of the 3 options we get, we're sticking with that one. And that map, so back and forth. This is honestly why I like our format a lot better than how Overwatch League was for their last season. Having Escort for the last map just kind of sucks. Having Push exactly so back and forth as is. Nice just remet kill from Chris there. It was kind of sick.
Yeah.
But having the back and forth, it's tied 2-2. The only way you get to push anyway is if both teams are slugging it out, and me, Bowser, and Recon all just sitting, biting our nails, going edge of our seats, going, oh my god, Ottawa wins this fight, Dallas wins that fight, and you just see the bot running back and forth, and ult pops. It just turned into such a great map. Panda pulled out the Widow to start, was great. Ottawa, at the very end, made a just impressive run, but Dallas had one clean stop. I think it was Panda on the Deadeye shutting down the Kiri ult. I think that just stopped it. I think once that went down, then Dallas really swept in. You could see it. Either way, this would not surprise me if this was a preview for the grand finals for Emerald. Like, I could sit here and talk about this match for hours. This was insane. But I think we see this match again come the end of this season in grand finals.
Yeah. But both teams on this point, the DPS were like going insane. They were getting picks to start a fight like everywhere you could see. The like, I think it happens here too. The reflect shot, yeah.
Is this the reflect?
Yeah. So I saw that back in game on slow mode.
Oh my god!
It's like a snap of a finger. The moment he turns on the reflect and it gets the headshot angle precisely on the Panda's head for that to happen. Yeah, he had to like hope that he was doing it at that moment and get it on like accurate. That was a crazy play, and that's not even the craziest play that happened in this game.
No, not at all. I mean, like it's like we've seen Laggy Puppy play this Genji to an insane level. Great Genji. I think that headshot reflect you just mentioned, insane call out. Like, what a great showcase for him. His other characters, he played the soldier a little bit. Like I said earlier, got some great value. But like his Genji staple, when you see that man auto lock the Genji, even in the 10-mans, you gotta be scared. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't pull it out in this one, but I mean, they're still looking like obviously the clear and away the two best teams. It was just an insane match to watch.
Yeah. The one team takes the fight win, it goes to the opposite side. The other team takes the fight win, it goes to the opposite side. It was going back and forth nonstop the entire match, and it was just like phenomenal gameplay from both teams. Like
it was so good. Oh my god! Yeah, and you could watch as the ult economy. It had its weird ebb and flows. Sometimes you would see just one ult come out, maybe two, and it was a great clean fight win from either side. And then all of a sudden, you have some fights, everybody and their mom just clicks the Q button and just, all right, surely we just get a win here. All ults are popping. We'll figure it out. So like, the takeaways from this game, if you didn't watch it, go back and watch it.
Please.
Best game of the season, I think, like hands down. But also, when you take a look at this game, remember it, because I will put my money on it right now. These two teams are, as of right now, number 1 and number 1 for their own conferences. Ottawa has a slightly better record overall, but this would not surprise me to be the grand finals matchup.
Yeah, I could see this being grands for Emerald for sure. If they both take number 1 seed, and it's not like a number 1, number 2, where they have to meet in semis, this will be probably like the most expected game to watch going into it.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, like, because you look at it, the standings right now, right? You've got the North Conference. It's Ottawa, Washington, Montreal. Washington has literally played no games, so they're just chilling with a forfeit, and, they have a week 2 game missing against New Orleans. They might get a loss to that. Not entirely sure what's going on. And then you look at week 3. I think that the Montreal-Washington game is supposed to play this Friday. So the first time we'll ever see Washington is coming up.
Finally.
But like, yeah, right. We'll be scared out of our minds to see what comes out. But hopefully it's something good. Mm-hmm. But like Washington, haven't played. We haven't seen how they do. So they might take second. They might be worse than Montreal, and Montreal sneaks in their win. We've seen Montreal have great showings. They just need a little bit more to punch out a win. And they're in there. They could find it against Washington. Or they, for their week 4, have to play against New Orleans. So that's maybe where they see it. Regardless, Ottawa, number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, kind of in the air, right? Then you go to the South Conference, and Dallas, again, holding that number 1 seed. The number 2 seed, I think, for Emerald is technically up in the air. Atlanta has, won a match, but I believe New Orleans could get the forfeit win in the week 2 match. And then, or no, sorry, they might get, depending on how that slides, they might get the win, they might not. They might get it for week 3. If Atlanta New Orleans cannot be scheduled, then the forfeit win could go to New Orleans, which would put them above Atlanta if they also get the week 2 one. Mm-hmm. Or if they could beat Montreal, who's again looking for their first win. So playoffs for Emerald, absolutely insane. Nobody knows what's going on. There are 2 clear winners that will have to, fight the second place team of the other conference and then probably win out that game, move on to face each other again. So we will, in my humble opinion, see Ottawa versus Dallas again.
Yeah, it's looking like the, at least for now, the likely chance based on how this match went and just the prowess on all sides.
It was just insane to watch. Again, if you haven't watched it, please go back. This will be one that we probably talk about for a little while, as it's also one of the only ones that have ever gone to 3 maps.
Yeah, it's the first Game 5 to ever happen so far this season.
Yeah, first Game 5 this season, I think second or third Game 5 of UR Overwatch history. Because the only one that I can think of is last season Philly versus Pitt. Everything else has been either a 3-0 or a 3-1. There, of course, is that Deadeye shutting down the Kitsune. It's insane to watch. Oh my god. But, we gotta stop gawking at that, as there are other teams in this, and we've kind of talked about them a little bit. Week 4 will be Ottawa versus Washington. Washington, of course, is scheduled for their Montreal Week 3 match. So hopefully they can also find a way to fight the other Canadian team this week. But Week 4 also has Atlanta versus Dallas. We saw that last week, or 2 weeks ago, I think. And that one had an unfortunate forfeit loss of a map.
Yeah.
But, I think Dallas still had a pretty strong hold on that. So maybe Atlanta can bounce back this week. Hopefully, find something. Also see if they can reschedule a game against New Orleans. They're going to need it for that seeding. And then, of course, there is Montreal and New Orleans, the 2 weaker teams, so to speak, that we have seen. One of them will get a win. By the end of this week, as long as they can schedule a match, one of them will get their first win.
Please. Get it scheduled.
Surely. I have faith. And I have trust. And I have pixie dust. Which is not a euphemism for something. But I am looking at these games. I want to throw it to you, but first I'm going to talk about Ottawa versus Washington. Washington, as everyone knows at this point, scares us because we have not seen them. And every time we talk about them, they're like, they haven't played. They're dropping in the seeding. What's going to happen? They come out of nowhere. They rip off the Band-Aid, and they start pounding. So Ottawa, in a world, I'm not saying what world, I'm not trying to figure that out, but in a world, semi-realistic, could find themselves against a tough matchup in Washington. That, personally, is going to be my game to watch. Not sure if you share the same views, Andrew.
Oh, I absolutely need to. I need to see this happen. I have not gotten to see War yet, and that's also going to be. It's not going to be the first time we see them, but at least we'll see them more than once. And I'll get to see the true prowess of the reigning semifinalists. Sorry, or not semifinalists. Is it semifinalists? I don't know. I'm spieling too hard. I'm curious to see the match. I'm really interested in how Ottawa versus War really goes. It's one I've actually been anticipating since the beginning of the season. So very curious about it.
Hopefully, it does have great endings to it. Who knows? Maybe we'll get another 3-2. Give us another 5 mapper. Hopefully, question mark. But that is, of course, talking about Emerald. We have a couple things to talk about before we wrap up. The first of which is going to be the power rankings. We started off with Ruby, so I guess we'll go back to Ruby. As a quick little just, rundown. We are looking at sixth place. I personally think it's Chicago. Of course, week 3 is the Chicago San Diego, the who's gonna get their first win first kind of game. That will be happening, so that should give us a little inclination as to who's doing a little bit better. But I think that San Diego, when they go into that game, I think they take it. I like how Chicago's been playing. It was a little rough going against Houston. But having said that, I think there's still signs of life. I think that they have a chance to pick up the pieces and really bounce back. It's going to be hard for the rest of their, schedule. Chicago's got to, of course, play Pittsburgh. Then they have to play Houston for the second time. And then into Philly, into San Diego again. So this San Diego showing, when it happens, will mean a lot because that's also how they're going to end their season off. But with Chicago at 6, I think San Diego then goes to 5. San Diego, again, the team just looking for their win. Their game against Chicago will tell them a lot of what they kind of need to work on. Going against the kind of lower end of these 6 teams, as we start to break into, some of the other teams. 4th place has got to go to Halifax. I love a lot of the players on that team. They unfortunately just aren't in, I don't know if it's the right meta for them. I'm not sure it's the team comps. Something is not working. It's not looking great. They need to bounce back and bounce back fast. It's going to be hard against Philly. Maybe they pull it out. I'm sure, Andrew, you are hoping they don't pull it out. For your own sake.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
But I think Halifax right now is kind of resting, definitely above those 2 teams. We saw them go against Chicago when they were playing for fun in the first week. Hopefully they're able to take that win against San Diego when it comes up. But then we get into the top 3 teams, and I think this is where Pittsburgh goes. A little hurtful. It's my own team. I think my teammates are great. I think right now, Houston and Philly are clearly the teams to beat. Right? They're number 1 in both their conferences. It is scary to look at either team. But that then begs the question, which is number 1? In this soon-to-come brawl of Houston-Philly, who wins this? And I think I've been on the fence about this. I love the concept of these teams going against each other. It should be a match to see. I think Philly takes it. So I'm personally putting Houston at 2nd, Philly at 1st. I am excited to see Adbon and JD go against Choco and Foliage. Adbon is an insane DPS player, has a lot of great mechanics, has a lot of great shot calling. JD plays the Torb. Yeah, enough said.
None more.
But then, of course, you go over to Foliage and Choco, who have really been looking dominant. This team has been scary. You guys have been, pretty hanging out with your team comps throughout this season. I think that Philly is starting to submit themselves as the number 1 across the Ruby League, but who knows? Maybe Houston takes it away from them. So for Ruby, it'll be Chicago, San Diego, Halifax, Pittsburgh, Houston, Philadelphia. Looking at these teams, I think they're all going to do great, but it's the JD Torb that really gets me. But we are, of course, now going to ignore JD's Torb and go over to Emerald. And, a lot of these games have not been played yet, but I think the team that we talked about beforehand. Yeah, Andrew can attest. We talked about it beforehand.
It was a long discussion of at least 3 hours.
It was rough. I mean, it was unfortunate. We had to bring in like 5 different people, just as consultations. No, consultants. There we go. What's up? English is hard. Get their opinions, and I think sitting at 6th place, Washington comes in. Will they ever? Yeah, I was about to say, will they ever be able to schedule a game? But they just got one. But
as long as it stands, we got a game, boys.
Yeah, I think so far Washington has scheduled 2 games so far. Right? It's Washington versus Montreal, which will happen this Friday, I believe at 9:00. Somebody please double check me.
We need that time now, by the way. Very important.
We would like it now. But they also scheduled a game against Atlanta, which is a match that doesn't happen until week 5. So during their week 3 match, they were going through it. Somehow they just figured it out at, hey, we're just going to do actually our week 5 match during our week 3. I don't know what Ricochet and Ice were cooking. I also don't know if it's Ice or Icy, so somebody also yell at me for that.
It's Icy.
All right, I've made myself a fool, as I have several times before. Shout out to the car crash thing from last time. But definitely Washington. We haven't seen him play. We'll see him play for the first time. They've got to sit at 6, which means number 5. 5 and 4. We're gonna have to look at Montreal and New Orleans. What are you whispering over there?
None.
Yeah, you. God, don't start with the Washington buff. We don't need it. It's too scary, and nobody's ready for it. We're gonna move on. We're gonna leave it in the whispers, and if we see him come out scary as ever, I'm blaming you.
What? No. That wasn't my fault.
Absolutely, it was. But looking at number 5th and 4th place, it's coming down to, of course, the Curse and the Stags. Overall, from the play that we've seen of both, I think Curse has to go 5. Montreal, we've seen promising stuff. I have really enjoyed watching Storm kind of go on the tank. Amani on the DPS, on the Sojourn specifically, has been really well. I think there's glimpses of just pure brilliance. They just need to just string enough together to get at minimum 3 maps for a win and just ride that out.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, there is a chance that based on Washington's scheduling abilities, they could take 2nd seed overall in that conference. Maybe that happens, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. But I think between the 2 teams, I think New Orleans looks good. But in this head-to-head, I would take Montreal, over the Curse.
Yeah. I'm seeing some glimpses of, just good, a lot of good, prowess here. But I need to see all the puzzle pieces fall together, but closer. And they both have good puzzle pieces. I just need them to get together. Just connect them. It's like the little circle thingy. Come on. Right there.
You're just trying to find that corner piece that's just in the middle of the pile, and you're just trying to sort it out. And you're like, all right, hold on. I know I need to start with the corners and work my way in.
No,
it'll happen.
I do the
once they
perimeter.
find the corners. You start with the 4 corners, right? Then you do the outside, and then you work your way in. You start with that perimeter.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's all they're trying to do. Montreal is just simply a puzzle piece looking for their perimeter.
But they get the nice balloon once they get it all done.
Don't think I know the last time I did a puzzle. That is unimportant. Going to the top 3 now, Emerald.
May 4th. Hopefully that was Monday.
Oh my god, if that's actually a Monday, somebody Venmo this kid $50. That's insane. Going into the top 3 of Emerald, we have obviously Dallas, Ottawa, Atlanta all kind of just hanging out in here. I think Atlanta's got to take 3rd. It's going to be a rough match against Dallas this upcoming week. And a win against New Orleans would definitely help them. Obviously, in their standings, help them secure that second place. A win against Dallas would be absolutely insane for them. It'd be great for them.
Yeah.
Based off of quick math, I think, depending on how the New Orleans situation goes, a win against Dallas could put them at first seed if it's like a 3-0, and they are able to play against New Orleans. So I think hopefully Atlanta can crawl back. I have a lot of players on that team that I kind of enjoy. I have a lot of people in this group that I enjoy, but hopefully they're able to figure it out and kind of crawl their way back until we talk about the top 2 teams who just played each other in a 5-map series for the 1,000th time. If you have not gone and rewatched it, it is Dallas versus Ottawa. Just happened like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. I don't know. Time is hard. Please go back and watch it. Just nutty.
Phenomenal series. It needs to be rewatched. Trust me hard.
It was so good that we talked about it second because it was just like the better of the 3 matches that happened, and it was so good that we trolled JD. He's absolutely just baited in the chat, and nobody cares.
JD, no, you didn't know. We
strategically waited. Sucks to be you, my guy.
No, we mentioned your tour. Don't worry.
But this match that was nutty had the 2 best teams. Obviously, I think the outcome will show what happened. Ottawa lost, Dallas won. Honestly, I think you could make a solid argument for either team. I really think that you go back and watch that series, both teams had their moments to win and had their moments to lose. I think, if / when we see this again in grand finals, calling it now, still calling it. I think in that, first to 4, I think Dallas still takes it. I think what we saw was just a little bit better of the communication with the ult economy, when to use it, how you're using it, what you're using it with. And I think if Ottawa tightens that up just a little bit more, they nail it. I think a lot of those games really came down to certain ults, not having their way. But either way, Dallas, Ottawa, nutty teams. Insane. And both teams combined still better than JD. Can confirm. But as a recap for Emerald, that will be Washington, New Orleans, Montreal, then of course Atlanta, Ottawa, and Dallas. Wrapping up the power rankings.
Yeah.
And now we have but a couple things left. I want to just say this as a reminder. Please, everyone, schedule your games. I know people are trying. Make sure that you are putting your availability in the availability chats so that way, league ops can see what's going on. Make sure that everyone's trying their best. But also, make sure that, you check out what map is coming up because it's a new week. So we've got to have a new map.
Yes, it is time for the wheel spin of the new map. We got Nepal, Samoa, Arctic Peninsula, and Ilios. Which will it be? Which
I personally really just want to get Antarctic out of the way. If we have week 7 as Antarctic, I might cry. So I'd rather get it out of the way now than have to deal with it later.
I want Ilios to go on. I don't like Well. Well sucks. That's it. I know my argument.
Well, hold up. Well is like kind of neat. No. Everybody just gets to play Hog.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. And I have to be the one to play it.
Well, I mean, just cook. That's all you gotta do. Just cook.
Whatever.
I think it's time to just cook. But speaking of cooking, let's cook up a good map or bad map to get it out of the way, and let's spin that wheel, my dear Andrew.
The wheel is spinning. but what will it fall on? It's okay. It's Antarctic Peninsula. Okay, sure.
It's done. The
It's
prophecies
mid.
fulfilled.
It's mid.
Now again, listen, I don't think a whole lot of people like this map. It's out of the way. Because now, for the last 3 weeks, as games are getting more and more important, we'll have Ilios, we'll have Samoa, and we'll have Nepal. I personally love me some Nepal and Ilios. Samoa, I think I'm still kind of growing accustomed to. But, like, it's better than Antarctic on week
True.
6 or 7.
It's like a lot of flat ground with like. There's like one map that really utilizes high ground, but not even like well, really. It's like the one map with like the circle in the center. There's like some high grounds that people utilize, and sometimes they don't. And then there's like the one giant platform and like the one beach area.
Yeah,
I
I
guess
forgot
two
about the
maps.
beach area.
Yeah,
So
I
I mean,
forgot
like-
about it too until I started talking about it.
Every time I think of Samoa, I just think of the volcano map, just because I'm like, whoa, volcano, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, that was the flat ground one I was thinking about.
Very fair, very fair. But Antarctic Peninsula will be your starting map for week 4, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't forget to pick that map to start, and then of course pick whatever you want if you lose the map, because you have that opportunity. But the one thing you don't get to pick is the player of the match. And we're not going to pick it either. Because there were only 3, technically 2 matches of week 3. So instead, we are going to pick, quote unquote, the match of the week that just got sent to the Phantom Zone. That's right.
It went to the Marvel What Ifs.
We're going to the Marvel What If scenarios of what if we could have scheduled and played these matches. I will give Atlanta versus New Orleans a little bit more credit than the other ones because they had it scheduled and ready to play. There was a very unfortunate circumstance that arose, so I would give them a slight advantage. But this week's player of the match, so to speak, is just going to be what match we think will come back and just turbo pound. It's going to be a gigabanger. It's going to be the best.
Yes.
And of course, we're going to figure it out once we get that wheel spin.
It looks like Chicago versus San Diego.
Honestly, I'm kind of here for it. I'm very here for it. I think this, obviously, you know, as us both being in Ruby, will give us a lot of good information as to what will happen for those teams. And of course, stuff that we might want to look at attacking later. Actually, wait, I think you guys have to play Chicago at some point. Yeah, you guys is like Chicago's week 6, I think maybe. So like watching it, definitely beneficial.
Yeah, week 6.
But nice. I know the schedule. But Chicago versus San Diego, the player match of the week in the Marvel What If scenario Phantom Zone. Quick couple shout outs for actual players of the week. You know, going to the Ottawa Dallas game, I think, you know, the DPS in Ottawa Dallas were insane. I think in the Halifax games, the support line of Walrus and Nezayumi are just nuts. And then, you know, Philly doing their Philly thing. Pittsburgh, want to shout out the team there doing an awesome job. But hopefully we'll get to shout out some more people and some more players next week, as I'm going to hope and pray that you all schedule your matches and we can get week 4/3 in the books. Andrew, anything else for the lovely viewers before we end our spring break week 3-ish recap?
The buff. I'm sorry, guys. The buff happened.
Why are we bringing that up again? Washington is just gonna run house.
Nothing's repeating like week 3. What? Who mentioned? Or season 3? What? Oh, who mentioned that one? That's the right one.
This is just so much just salt in the wound too.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's like blood in the water. We can smell it. Washington's gonna turn up, and oh god, I'm scared now. You've terrified me. I'm so scared that I'm fully leaving. Ending the stream. That's it. I'm gone. Quitting UR. Going to live a life of solitude in the woods.